Welcome to another edition of the post-game wrap. I'm Jarret Johnson, and man, what a wild one in Lubbock as Texas Tech defeated number 25 Houston 33-30 in double overtime on a 9-yard run by quarterback Donovan Smith. And boy, what a roller coaster it was for Donovan Smith, who looked really good and he was poised in the first half, but then threw 3 interceptions in the second half, and including a pick six. One of those interceptions looked like it was going to cost them the game, and then even in overtime, they faced, 4th and 20? And, I mean, the game looked over. Houston was up by a touchdown, 4th and 20, but he rolls right, finds Jarret Bradley, who, oh, by the way, had a open touchdown, ball right in his hands as he was falling backwards, and he dropped it. Texas Tech tried to kick the tying field goal and missed it. So redemption for Donovan Smith, redemption for Jarret Bradley, and then Trey Wolff actually kicked the field goal to tie it late to send it to overtime, and that was a really nice drive by Donovan Smith. They had, I believe, 35 seconds, something like that, to march down the field and get a field goal. They got it in place, and Trey Wolff, who missed a field goal earlier, like I said, made a 47-yarder right down the middle, very clutch. So there were a lot of things that happened in this game. Both Houston and Tech made a lot of mistakes early in the season, but it was a really entertaining football game. And I think the one constant you got to point out is Texas Tech's defense played great, especially up front. They put a lot of pressure on Clayton Tune, Houston's quarterback, and rushed a lot of throws. Had a great percentage on third down, got off the field a lot. And then in overtime, again on third down, they almost got an interception, but forced Houston to kick a field goal, and then that led to Donovan Smith's game-winning touchdown on a quarterback draw. So, yeah, there is a lot to talk about with this game, but I think overall, Coach Joey McGuire, he nailed it in the post-game presser that, they've talked about since he got here. Don't focus, whether it's good or bad, don't focus on the play that just happened. Go to the next play. Go to the next play. As I just pointed out, those 3 guys redeemed themselves who, they made mistakes. They did. Donovan Smith made some bad throws, and then he slipped on a 4th and 3. And I'm a huge fan of Donovan Smith. I've been singing his praises here, and he was struggling. He was. Just quite honestly, he was trying to give the game away, but he didn't hang his head. His teammates and his offensive line struggled mightily too. That Houston defensive line was better than I thought they were going to be, and I've talked about the offensive line, my concerns for months, all offseason. So that came to fruition, but still, Donovan Smith and the team persevered. They overcame, and in the end, they got the W, which is what it's all about: is getting the win. And so, like Coach McGuire said, what he preached, next play, next play, next play, that came to fruition. So, that's really good to see. They really need to win, obviously, the game against Murray State, but they need to win this game against Houston as a home. Houston's a good team, and they're ranked. Don't get me wrong. They're probably going to win 10-plus games this year, again. But for Texas Tech and their schedule, they go to NC State next week, and then they host Texas, who gave Alabama all they wanted earlier today. And then you get Kansas State there, Oklahoma State there. It just goes on and on. Very tough schedule. So Texas Tech needed this win at home against Houston. They got it, and they showed a lot of fight. This is one of the reasons I've had optimism about this team all offseason. Was last season they showed a team that's willing to get hit in the mouth and respond. And they did that today. So that's a good sign. And I give credit to the coaching staff for sure, but I give credit to these players too. There's a certain amount of toughness with this group of players that we haven't seen in recent years. Now, we'll see how they do at NC State. The concerns about offensive line are still there. The concerns of some of those throws Donovan Smith made are still there. But the defense, the defensive line, I thought the linebackers played really well today. Krishan Merriweather, we have to see where he is health-wise. Kosai Eldridge, too. He played very well, but he looked a little dinged up. And the safeties, they had in the secondary, they had a really good game after, that was probably the major criticism coming off the Murray State game. At the safeties, especially, Muddy Waters made several big plays. Reggie Pearson had a big sack. Rabbit, Dadrian Taylor Demerson had a fumble recovery and a couple of big plays. And that one play he gave up, I mean, you could say that was offensive interference. They didn't call it, so that's fine. But he was in position, and the guy pushed off and made a good play. That guy's a good player. The Houston receiver, Tank, as they kept calling him. So, that happens. But overall, the safeties and not just them. I thought Rashad Williams played really well at corner. Malik Dunlap made some big plays. Made a that big play I was talking about late in overtime. He got a deflection, and looked like Tyler Owens. I mean, the ball was right in his hands. He could have had an interception. But hey, all's well that ends well. They hold Houston to a field goal in double overtime, and then get out with the W on that Donovan Smith run. So Tahj Brooks had 80 yards and a couple of scores. Saradrick had a nice catch and a couple of nice plays. I think there's a couple of things. I know Coach Keatley says it's not an air raid offense, but it has a lot of the signs of an air raid offense. And of course, he learned from Cliff Kingsbury as one of the guys who's his mentor. So, I mean, it's a spread type offense that looks very much like an air raid. And there are times I feel like they get away from the run too much. Now, early on, Houston was doing a good job of bottling them up. But I just, they got the W, and Kitley's still learning. And he's, very, very good, highly respected offensive coordinator. But you have those two studs in Saradrick and Tahj, and I want to see them, even if it's little passes or whatever. Get the ball to those guys. Get the ball to those horses, because I think they're a real strength of the team. And they did that in overtime before Donovan, scored on that quarterback draw. Tahj Brooks really took over for a stretch. So that'd be my one criticism. I don't have a big critique of the play calling. I think there were some plays that were there that weren't executed. I think the offensive line has a lot to work on. Donovan Smith has a lot to work on in terms of his timing, the clock in his head, about getting rid of the ball. So in reading things, but he's still relatively young. He's played some, but he hadn't played a whole lot. So, hey, 2-0. Next up is NC State. They're in Raleigh. Should be a huge game. It's a wonderful opportunity, and they're going to be underdogs. I bet Tech will be at least 6-7 point underdogs there. So, it's an opportunity to pull off a major upset. And if they do, then look out. But they're going to have their hands full. You have to see what the injury status is, and then also what kind of adjustments they make off of. Because I think they gave up 6 sacks, and they had, it was either 11 or 13. I can't remember. I'm sorry. Negative plays. And it's just hard to survive that. So, great. From Coach Tim DeRuiter, the defensive coordinator, I mean, he was outstanding, dialing up the blitzes, bringing pressure time and time again against Clayton Tune. I mean, it looked like a completely different defense than we haven't seen at Texas Tech. And they look big, they look fast, and they're aggressive. I just was very impressed with the defense. In a lot of ways, the defense won the game for you, So, special teams has some things to clean up, but, some coverage things. The field goal, they missed 2 field goals, but hey, they made that field goal. Trey Wolf did when it mattered. They made their extra points, or the extra point in halftime, or in the first overtime, to send it to the second overtime. So it was a roller coaster too on special teams, but there's definitely some things to improve. But it's much better to have all these things on tape to improve on after a W than a loss. So Texas Tech's 2-0 to start the Joey McGuire era to start the 2022 season. So overall, happy days in Raiderland. The fans even stormed the field, which I know some people have a problem with, but at least the kids get to have some fun. It was a ranked opponent, big win, so exciting victory. So good times again, and we'll do it all again next week. So with that, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.